Thank you very much, Regiane and Domenico. Without any further delay, I would give the stage to Regiane, who will introduce herself, her work, and how she sees the future of cities. Thank you, Regiane.
Thank you a lot, Laura, for the opportunity. It's a big pleasure for me. I'm Professor Regiane from Brazil, and I'm the head of Smart City Facens, that is a prototype of a smart city inside the university.
Smart Campus Facens.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, this is Smart Campus Facens, that is a prototype of a smart city in a space very nice, 100 kilometers of green and too much technology. We have here many innovation centers, and our concept is lifelong learning. So we created some innovation centers like LIS. It's a lab for innovation and social center. Entrepreneur center, that is FACE. Liga is another one that we talk about how we can create apps and games, but related to smart city. Our campus is a live lab, and we want to put real problems and connecting all the academic community, marketing, society, all the people that want to teach and to learn about smart city. So we have 98s, and we can work in ICT, energy, urbanization, mobility and security, industry and business, education and culture, health and quality of life, environment and governance. Now we have the 5G inside all the campus, and we were the first university here in Sorocaba to receive the signal of 5G. Everything that we do here is aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals and, of course, with the concepts of ESG, environment, social, and governance. Here in Brazil, we have an IoT plan, and in this National Internet of Things plan, we can imagine many areas, and our ministry decided to prioritize 4 areas: Industry 4.0, Agro 4.0, Health, and Smart City. But after the pandemic time, they put 2 more, education and tourism, because they were very, very bad during the pandemic times. So we have here many partnerships around the world because we want that our students can exchange the knowledge with the people inside and outside our country. And in the same way, we wanted to receive professors, students, community, and we wanted to change the knowledge about what we are doing here. We have a lab that we call Agro 4.0, and we have a smart greenhouse with many sensors. We have also a photovoltaic panel, and we are generating 30% of our energy. And at the same way, we have a vegetable garden school, and our students, our professors can come and have some fruits and vegetables for free. We also have an Industry 4.0 lab, and this is related to the concept of the new technologies that can be applied to this industry. So we have many partnerships around the world with Fraunhofer, Ericsson, Claro, Ingolstadt, and many others that we put hands-on at Industry 4.0. We also are using all the concepts inside our labs. So we have robots, we have simulations, we have IoT devices, computers, augmented reality, and so far, so on. We have another one that is a lab that I love. It's about Brazilian artificial intelligent nucleus. And we are developing a car that is autonomous car. And the students love to do this. They are studying a lot, creating some kind of algorithms that can be uploaded to this small car to the big car. We also have very, very worried with the green area. So we have cars that can be charged inside the campus for free. We also are taking care about the security. So we have many cameras that can control the traffic and try to help the students with the parking. Because here there are many students with many cars and we are asking them to leave the car in their homes and come by ride, but they don't like this idea. We also are working with the motorcycle in the vehicles blind. So we are using the sensors, the radar sensors, to understand the behavior to avoid accidents. And in our highways, we also manage the cars to detect smoke, to detect against the flow, to count the vehicles, to understand the traffic, and to try to help the students to arrive here in safe. We also have a Liga, that is a lab where we develop games, apps, and we are doing augmented reality, virtual reality, X reality, everything integrated. We also have a Fab Lab, and our students and our community can use our digital manufacturing lab using our 3D printer, laser cutting, and other equipments. We are helping people outside the university with some project like this, Engaging for Good. I love this project. And we developed some product for children and children that has a special attention. Now we just finished our new area that is a Health 4.0 area. And we have many robots, we have IoT sensors, we have many controls to use in machines, not in human. So the students can learn and can do something wrong with the machines, not with the people. So since 2016 that I arrived here, we created more than 300 projects related to all that we are working, as I told you, ICT, mobility, security, industry and business, healthy, energy, education, and here we work as the governance. So all the data comes to our dashboard and we can understand what is happening with our water, energy, traffic, if we need to do some repair in some place, how is our temperature, how much we are spending from energy, how many cars are inside our campus, if our labs are on or off, if everything is working, how many energy we are generating, and we can trace and track all the equipment that are inside our university. But of course, we don't want to trace and track our students, our people. No, just things, not people. So we have also many partnerships with companies, big companies, and now we are a 5G campus. It's very new here in Brazil, but we have it since April this year. In resume what we are doing here. We are developing many intelligent projects to integrate people and put our students, our community at the center, and using the technology to give them a better life. So now we have many innovation center, but this one with the Ministry of Science and Technology plus 5G with the Ministry of Science and Communication, we can integrate Education 4.0. This is our ministry when he comes here. And what happens since 2016? We received many awards around the world. We impacted many students with the concept about smart city. We realized many projects and we have many IoT devices. But we, of course, learned that if you want to have success, please put a focus on the people. And you can understand this by this lesson. Sugar is made of 3 molecules, oxygen, hydrogen, and carbon. Where is the sweetness in the relationship? So we believe a lot in relationship because the technology is just a mean, it's not an end. So let's keep always in touch, always collaborating, and always learning. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Regiane, for your intervention. Great. I have a lot of questions, but we postpone these questions to a second step. Well, it's the stage is to you now, Domenico. Explain to us your perspective, your tech perspective, and how you approach smart cities. We heard what is going on in Brazil. What's going on in Italy, in Europe, and in the markets you are in?
Okay, thank you very much, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody, depending on your time zone. And I am Domenico Mangiacapra. I'm the CEO of Henshin Group. We are a software house, so a technological company, and we approach the topics of Regiane by a technological point of view, better by a software point of view. And to explain in a very short time what we have done, I share my screen in, okay, share. Okay, I suppose you are looking at my screen.
Perfect.
So the most important thing is the vision, the design. So when we speak about services to people, services to citizens, we have to say that all services are deployed through technological platforms. Many times the services transform itself in technological platforms. And so currently there are a lot of different technological platforms for services to citizens, for different services in smart cities. But all of these services must be integrated all together. It means that the technological platforms that are in the back of the services must speak together, must communicate together, must be integrated. And so there are a lot of technological platforms that must be integrated. But the mobility platform, so the technological mobility platform, is different from all the other platforms by a technological point of view, because simply the technological intensity in the mobility platform is really huge. It's more intensive than all the other platforms. If you think to a single autonomous vehicle has inside the intelligence, the technology, similar to the technology that you need to send men on the moon or on Mars. And we are speaking about a single autonomous vehicle. So in a really natural way, by a technological point of view, the mobility platform is dominant. It means that in the integration between all the technological platforms, the mobility platform is becoming the hub of all the other platforms, the hub of all the services to citizens. So this view, for example, is very well represented by the title of the Volkswagen press release in 18 that you see on my screen. And at the same time, in July 18, about all the car makers, so not only the car makers, all the mobility players in the world agreed with this vision, and they got together in order to define the new rules of the future mobility platform that must be the hub of all the IoT services in a smart city. This association is called MOBI, Mobility Open Blockchain Initiative, and they say that the future mobility platform, in order to be the central hub of all the services, must be open source. Because if you have to be the hub, you must be open source by a software point of view. So what Henshin has done, we have done exactly this. I mean, we have developed a mobility platform designed to be an hub of all the other technological platforms. So the mobility platform develop all the mobility services, but the design of this platform is for integration. The platform is completely open source, and third, we are not only open source, but we are completely standard. Standardization, in our opinion, is the way for a real smart city. So we adopt in our platform only standards. We too are part of MOBI, of this consortium that defines the new standards. For example, we were talking about energy. There is a big topic, the vehicle to grid, how an electric vehicle communicates with the grid. And there is a technological standard that has been deployed by MOBI. And so we participate in MOBI in the definition of the standards, and then we adopt these standards in our platform. I can say, for example, that this view is starting to be accepted also by a regulatory point of view, and many regulatory entities are entering MOBI. For example, in Europe, the European Commission, that since September, very recent, is inside of MOBI, in order to adopt these technological standards for the new laws that are being studied, especially in the energy sector, because the energy sector is the most important sector in this moment, especially for sustainability reasons. So this is what we have done and what we give to the market in a complete open source way. Only one thing, because of we are open source, and we try to create, or in a natural way, we create ecosystems. So we have an ecosystem of partners that is increasing, and currently our main targets are big mobility and energy players that we reach through a system of eco-partners, a lot of time system integrators.
Thank you, Domenico. Again, I've got a couple of questions very much related to your presentation, but I will start to the audience. If somebody wanted to pose a question, happy to take them from the chat. Just write them down. The first question is for Regiane. Regiane, you showed us a fantastic dashboard. Which is impressive in terms of data. How can you guarantee, and you said that the individual is at the core of your thoughts, which is fantastic. However, I want to understand that you made the difference between tracking things and tracking people. How can you, because we and things are approximately always associated. So how can you make the difference? If you track one thing, on my point of view, you are tracking also the individual.
Sure, yeah. We have here the access control, and we use the face, but the students can decide if they want to do this or if they don't want to do this. If they don't want, they can use a card or they can just put the numbers and that's okay. But they don't mind because they know that here in Brazil we have a law just like in the Europe. And this law, it's a protected data collecting. So we can't use this in any way. Just to understand if they can come inside or not the university. That's just one place that we use the face to do this. All the others are sensors for things. So, for example, we have sensors for the floor, we have sensors to the air, we have sensors for traffic, we have sensors for cars, but for people, we don't. And when the data arrive to our dashboard, they are anonymous. We don't have the data. Who is the person that is next to the gate one? No, we don't have this. It's just that one person is inside or outside. We don't put the ID of the students or of the visitors inside our database. So we have a policy about this. And I, by myself, I hate to be trace and tracking, of course. And some students, they don't mind about that because they use, how can I say, the smartphone all the time. And they can't imagine what the smartphone is doing with their lives. So every time that they come here,
I get,
try to
Regiana,
explain.
but just let me understand. The power of AI is such that regardless of what you input or what you authorize, it can create patterns about the behavior of individuals. Sure. And from patterns, you can then link to other elements and create the truth that you have not declared by providing name and surname, but finally comes up with the same thing. I make an example, Google map that maps where you live and then maps who require milk or a COVID test at a certain address. And then so the two things combined create the information about who is taking the test. I make an example, it's not specific to you, but is one of the elements that we have to consider if we definitely put the individual at the core of our thoughts and his freedom. So I care very much about freedom. I also care about emerging technologies, and I think we can do a lot through emerging technologies, but anyway, we needed to manage the risk, right? So I would like to learn from you if you have had a thought about these about this in your campus.
Yes, as I told you, we don't get the ID of the person. But as you told, of course, I can understand the behavior of the students, the behavior of the traffic, the behavior of many things, because we have many cameras that are intelligent and can do this. But this is not just inside the campus. This is outside the campus. Here in Brazil, as everybody knows, we have many problems with security. So in each place that you look, you can find a camera looking to you. Inside the elevator, inside the buildings, inside the city, inside the street, all the places we have cameras. So here we can guarantee that they are not going to be saved. The ID will be saved. But outside here, we can't do
So you
anything.
mean the behavior is traceable in itself, is the governance over data that eventually protect the individuals. That's what you say, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
the
Thank you.
problem, Laura, is that here in Brazil, there is a special thing that people don't understand. When you go to the store and you wanted to buy just a water, they ask you, would you like to give me your ID?
Yeah, of course. Well, that's we are in the marketplace of data. Domenico, please, you told about standards, and I navigate the space of blockchain, and I'm lost with standards creation. I'm lost with the hope of standards creation. So tell me, because you depend from standards, if I understand it well, you're creating an ecosystem where obviously, because you rely, you sell yourself as open space, as open source, so obviously you need standards, but standards, well, law and regulations takes much more than technology to be developed. Tell me how you manage.
In fact,
if you can manage.
Yeah, but in fact, this is the main problem, because standards exist and standards are being created. The real problem are regulations, law.
Yeah.
Because when...
No, it's not a law, it's enforcement of law.
Exactly. Because when we deploy the technological platform that is open source, it must work in China, in the US, in the Brazil, in Italy, in UK.
Okay, tell me how you manage.
All of these standards have different regulations. So the platform has been designed to be completely configurable. We have the concept of communities. And for example, the University of Regiane can be a community. Every single country can be another community. We have communities, sub-communities, and you define rules in different ways depending on the community you are. Also for the privacy management, because when you use our system for business activities, you need to know who the people is. And regarding that, by a technological point of view, we have standards to do that. But by a regulatory point of view, there is absolutely no standards. And for example, about that, you were speaking a few minutes ago about AI. And for example, in the European Union, the Joint Research Center of the European Union has published a few months ago the new guidelines for the AI. I synthesize, there is a strong division with good and AI and bad AI to be used for services to people. And the good AI that will be allowed in the European Union mainly has two features that are robustness and explainability. Because if you do not have explainability in the AI, you have very, very big risks, also social risks. And so for that, because of integration, we have integrated in our platform an AI system developed by Veos Digital, that is one of the most advanced player in the AI area. And so we have a complete gateway with the Veos Digital system in order to supply a AI application that will be allowed in the future by the European Union new law about that. Obviously, our technology is completely agnostic. So you can integrate this good AI system, but you can integrate also a bad AI system.
And this is the freedom of the user. Do I understand it well? It's a matter, the community comes on your platform, and within the community, they decide whatever they want, but you as a platform, fix the rule, schedule the rule, decide the rules of how the communities interact with the platform itself and with each other. Is that correct?
Better, we supply the technology.
Okay,
then all the services are given by the users of our technology. That can be local authorities, can be private companies, public companies, and they configure their rules depending on their law. So the real fitting to the law depends on the social and on the social structure of the specific local community.
Do we agree that is a centralized system anyway?
It depends, because when you use blockchain, you can have a centralized blockchain or better, a decentralized blockchain.
Well, yeah. Here the rules are defined by the platform. Anyway, that's so okay. We don't enter into the blockchain space. Otherwise, it would be just an answer to a question of one of our attendants who didn't show up, but it doesn't matter. Do you see the push for utility upgrades, specifically greater use of smart storage? He talks about, or he or she, a microgrid. Do you see in the future microgrids to have a more use in order for enabling a distributed energy?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a very urgent topic. I know very well the European market about that, because with the increasing of renewable sources of energy, you lose completely the control of the grid. And the balancing of the grid is a very big issue. And you have to think that, for example, in Europe, it's a dramatic theme, because in the short time, the grid companies are not able to maintain the balancing the grid. It means that there is a increasing risk of blackouts, of long-time blackouts.
Sure. So the energy is it may be a big challenge for smart cities. So it might. And the dependence from IoT and whatever. So we do what we citizens, we say we are in the middle of everything, and finally we are slaves of energy.
And in fact, in Europe, there is a very important project that
we have just to change the owner.
Yeah. And so all the grid companies of all the European countries are all together developing a new system for grid balancing that is called TiiQu, totally open source and based on blockchain. We are making the integration with this system. And to do that, they are using the mobility standards, because the vehicle to grid standard, the vehicle to grid is a battery to grid. It is not important if you have a battery on 4 wheels or you have a static battery. The technology is the same. And you maintain the balancing of the grid through storage systems.
Thank you. There is a growing interest in green infrastructure and other building approaches that use a natural solution to help to combat carbon emissions, etc. Regiane, do you want to say a couple of words of how you at the campus are managing carbon emission, flooding, air pollution, or whatever else in this space?
Sure. We are generating 30% of our energy using our photovoltaic panel. We are also studying hydrogen, how we can generate hydrogen. And as everybody knows, here in Brazil, we have also alcohol as a gas. So we are trying to be always more sustainable as possible. So we are sending to the students, let's come together. Don't use your car every day. Please take care about the water, take care about the energy. We are trying to teach the students to be more sustainable. And we think that with this, we are going to get a better future because Domenico and Laura was talking about mobility, are talking about sustainability, about data, and I always say to my students, we are in a very, very different world. Now we can't go out anymore. We are being traced and tracked all the time. That's the truth. If we want to understand, if we can understand this, it will be easier to protect ourselves. Why? Because some place you can say, I don't want you to collect my data. I don't want you to use my information to send me materials about marketing. I don't. But anyway, many places, they are never
So
respecting the
is
rules.
definitely the education of the individual that need obviously to be aware of a new behavior in society and in how society works. Domenico, the 4 pillars of smart cities. Somebody told me that there are 4 pillars. Which are they?
Regulation.
Okay. The 4 pillars. By technology, by our point of view, it is most technological, we have 3 pillars that have a strong technological impact and 1 pillar that is absolutely not technological. So the 3 pillars are integration, because you must give full services to the citizen, and the second pillar is that all the technology, I mean all the data you collect, must be open. Everyone must have access to the data. Anonymous data in some cases, but not only open source for the platform, but also open data for the information. Why I speak in a very strong way about open source? Because when you use, for example, algorithms to decide what services to give to the people, it means that you use algorithm to classify, to clusterize people. If you are open source, you are absolutely sure about what you are doing. What you declare can be verified. While if you don't use open source software, for example, Facebook is not using open source software.
So you mean the transparency of
yes.
of the big data make it possible to track it, to see what you are doing. That's basically what you're saying.
Yes. The third pillar is standardization. That means security, because you can manage security, so also all the terrorism issues and so on, through standardizations. But the most important thing is not technology.
I have something to say, but I will
Go.
not.
You can say.
Associating standardization with the security, it seems really an azar.
Yes.
What is common sense or what is widely accepted doesn't necessarily correspond to security. But anyway, yeah, or let's say is accepted by the rulers, basically.
Yes, but mainly if you use standardization in security, why is connected to security? Because if you have standardization, when you have a problem, you can react in a very quick way. If you don't use security, you have a lot of bottlenecks. If you don't use standards, you have a lot of bottlenecks when you have problems. So the timings of solving a problem are longer if you don't use standardization. But it's another topic.
Yeah, let me go on with another question from our participants. What could make a smart city fail, technically speaking? And then I will ask to Regiane what she thinks is the human aspect that could make a smart city fail.
By a technological point of view, the failing appears, in my humble opinion, when you decide, when the governance of the smart city decide to act without a medium and long-term roadmap. Because when you have to set up a smart city, you have the main problem, in my opinion, is the infrastructure, because you need also an intelligent infrastructure. And to set up an intelligent infrastructure is very expensive. Sometimes it's very long. It requires a long time. So you need a medium long-term roadmap that you have to follow also with different governances, because there are elections and so on. So if you do not have an approved by the local community, so not dependent from now there is the right and there is the left at the governance, if you don't have that, in my opinion, there is a failure, also by a technological point of view.
So you are telling me that technology is not the problem, is the governance the problem?
Exactly. That can make a disaster on the technological side.
Regiane, do you agree?
Yeah, technology is always a mean, not the end. The problem is what you are going to do with those data that you are collecting.
But
and
tell me one thing, guys. Because it's a problem of governance, and governance change. I mean, not only in the parliament, in companies, in cities, and whatever. Where is the solution? Because Domenico is, if I do understand it well, is building or has already built a platform that facilitate people to enjoy potentially and implement smart cities. And can define certain rules, but obviously cannot define what communities will build in their ecosystem. And probably this depends from who is the buyer, who is going to pay the bill, right? And so...
And the ethical of the people that is going to be the bill, to pay the bill.
Yeah.
I'm very direct at this point. Very direct. I'm too much afraid of the future because we don't know who is take care about all this knowledge. Because when I started to work at this area, the problem it was how to collect the data. Now we learned we can collect the data all the time. And then we started to learn how we transform data into the information. Now we are learning how we can transform the information into knowledge. And this is the problem now. Why? Because this knowledge on the wrong hands can destroy everybody on a click of distance. That's the truth.
Thank
We are
you,
not
Regiane.
going to.
Just a quick one for both of you. Climate-wise, because it is the climate time, right? Everyone talk about climate. Do you think that your smart cities will be a solution for climate or not? Don't sell me again that is a matter of governance. Huh? I want a
No, it's not a
technological
matter of
solution here.
governance. It's a matter of education.
Okay.
We need to change the education. That's the base of everything. And let me tell you just one thing: smart city is a digital city. It's completely different. The smart city is that city that put the citizen on the center and use or not technology to improve their lives. So you can't say that a city that there is all the sensors, 5G, cameras, it's a smart city because it can be just a digital city. A smart city is when you solve the troubles of that people, and those people has different troubles, different problems. So you need to understand what your community needs. And after that, try to rearrange everything to help them to live
Okay,
better.
you come to a point. What is the trade-off that you guys need to do in order for being a smart for the smart city that you are building? And we come up to the topic of today, which is how smart is a smart city, right? So smart is solving problem with the technology and potentially designing things in a way that problem, at least we don't have exactly the same problems that we have in current cities. So how do you make it happen within the realities that you are designing now?
Yes. On my side, we try to involve in a project all the stakeholders, and we have. I don't do the name because I will tell you also about a negative topic about that. We had an experience in a local area that is big, around 1 million of inhabitants, that they used our system for COVID, so for local transportation, in order to guarantee the same level of services, having only the 50% of people allowed to go on buses and coaches. So through our system, they made a very beautiful system, saying to the people on the smartphone application, you have to get coach A, you have to get coach B, you have to get coach C, you have to enter from the front door, you have to enter from the back door in order not to have all people together. Well, this project was blocked by the unions that make a strike because this system can create problem on the drivers, because when you use the front door, you can have people with COVID walking near the driver. It means that for this project, it was not so important to have the okay and the vision by the transport company, but they had to involve the unions, the schools, because the passengers are mainly students, and all the stakeholders of the project. If all the stakeholders are involved, the project works. Otherwise, you have a really high probability to have a failure, but it is not a smart project. So first of all, we try to define who are the stakeholders and to involve all of them. As Regiane said before, the main problem is education. Education of all the stakeholders.
Is there a responsibility that you take in charge as creator of these smart cities a responsibility about how things work, because the freedom, sometimes freedom, needs to be managed, and the trade-off and the relationship between the freedom that you give to your user and the freedom that is ethically correct to give may be a complicated decision, but somebody will need to take it. So I don't know, technically speaking, it appears that everything is possible. It's possible to define through machines whatever happens in a smart city. When the lights come, who is seeing what works at 5 o'clock in the morning, where cars can. So everything is possible, but somebody needed to push the button. What is the trade-off that you see yourself find?
This is the reason, because there are laws. We need laws.
But we don't know. We don't have laws for smart cities.
Yes,
I
the
guess
real
that's the
problem is
problem.
that we don't have laws.
No. We are creating laws around the world.
Yes.
ISO. Yes, we have
Okay.
a ISO standard, international standard. They are creating many standards for this and some laws about this. So they understand that we are in a very different world, and they need to do something for this because it's very important. For example, some place outside Brazil, some people could turn off a machine for another use the machine to give a breath. Why? Because it's all connected. So it's very important now to develop rules, and more than this, to put on the mind that we needed to be ethical, and ethical, because technology, I can do whatever I want with the technology. Everybody knows that. It's just to look back.
Last, a couple of TiiQuTalks of this month. One was about ESG, and I finished the talk asking to participants ESG, what counts more, environment, social, and governance. And we had two speakers, one on the social side, on the other side, and the other one more technological. And finally, we ended up saying governance. Without governance, you do nothing at all. Do you agree?
I agree.
Okay, so we have 3 minutes. I'd like, I got the point. Technologically speaking, we can do everything. Open source is key. Data management is absolutely a strong element. Interaction and tribes management is what makes it possible for everyone to benefit of a context. Now, if you needed to suggest, you wanted to suggest to somebody who is wanted to be involved into the space, which are the skills that are needed to put together or to be involved or to do the good of the future of smart cities, what are the skills mostly needed?
Ethical, and ethical. After that, they will need to understand the technology, of course, technology. I'm from the technology area from 35 years. I need to understand what I can do and what I shouldn't do with the technology. And you need to understand what is this governance that is talking about in ESG. What is the G that you are talking about?
Thank
It's
you.
not a control.
Thank you, Regiane. Domenico, your
I
last
think that
word.
the most important thing, together with all the Regiane topics, is to have the capability of the vision of the future, because you have to build up regulation, governance, so on for the future, not for the present. So you must have in mind average age You will have old people, young people, because the services you develop are completely different depending on the age. What kind of mobility you will have, because there will be smart working, not working, what kind of industry, but not now, in the future. So society is changing in a very fast way. And so you have to plan for the future, not for the present.